This is one of the most important venues, possibly even globally. There's 1,000 people wanting to get in, 20,000 watts of sound in there. And I know two individuals that got up there and they stole. I used to DJ here in about 1994. When it first opened. Very well. Yeah. He was playing hip hop in 1983, the only full laser light show in the Southern Hemisphere. And this is where everything changed for me, for Christchurch.
Welcome back to the Lost Nightclubs, guys. We are here in sunny Christchurch. Yes, it's a beautiful day, and we're going to go meet up with a DJ that started his career here. The man himself. Greg, how you going?
Hey Shae, how are you?
Awesome. So we're in the heart of Christchurch City. This was your hometown.
Yeah, it was until 1996, and I barely even can recognise a lot of it now. It's obviously changed more than dramatically, but I'm amazed that this place is still standing.
I mean, these have been like this since the earthquake, but they're derelict. There's no one in them anymore.
Looks like there's been a few people up there having a good time as well.
Right, yeah, there's probably a few people living in there. There's a lot of tagging, but that is part of the culture of Christchurch, and we're going to get into that a little bit later.
When it comes to what I regard as the foremost iconic venues in Christchurch, this is definitely in the conversation.
Okay.
And it was really a massive turning point in my career. If this place hadn't come around in 1990, who knows if I would have even been a DJ beyond the Tuesday nights, which probably would have fizzled out at Romanov's, where I was every Tuesday night. Yeah.
So of course we're talking about
the Worcester Bar. It was just more a bar that was turned into a club, and it was exactly what we required and Christchurch needed in June 1990 when it opened. Right, it's a dead giveaway because there used to be a sign up here,
yes,
beyond the Belfast one, which had Worcester Bar and car park with an arrow. And I know two individuals that got up there and they reclaimed both sides of the sign. And I'm in possession of one of them.
Yeah.
And Craig, I know you've got the other.
Okay, but wasn't this part of a hotel?
It was Noah's Hotel, which was part of the Ridges Group, and so the Worcester Bar was right through here.
Oh, okay.
There was more room down here, but it was pretty much right along. Most of this, it probably held about 200 to 300 people.
Okay, so
there was a lot of seating. Not the greatest sound system, but it was all that we could have in there because on Friday, Saturday they would clear. So there's no one directly above, but they would clear the 2 floors above, so we could function and we could open.
What stage of your career were you at when you started here?
I'd probably been DJing a year and a half, but that was just a Tuesday night. Glenn McKinley and I, it was called Global Influence.
Yep.
He was my partner up here, and so we'd blag this Tuesday night there, which was pretty highly successful initially. Richard Losey, aka Fish, who would go on to be Shae Food's manager, he was the one that started it and approached us. So we had Fish, and we had Jeff Holland, who was my mate from intermediate school. We didn't really see much of Jeff. He was definitely well behind the scenes, and Fish ran the bar and the bookings, and we also had Timmy Saluse, who used to DJ. He would become a DJ, but he used to be the bouncer at the box with Suwani back in the day. So they came down, but also DLT came down, and along that far wall, he and another guy, I'm not sure who came down with Daryl, they did all these amazing, all the sort of, it wasn't bombing as such, but it was sort of in the style of graffiti. There was Flavor Flav, there was Madonna, just all these current icons of
that was the era then. It was sort of Michael Jordan and
Michael Jordan might have been on the early. It was all early 90s icons, but it wasn't. But it was done in such a way that if you walked along the street here and you looked up, you were like, wow, what's this? And previously the Worcester Bar had just been a bar where people would go after work and have a Friday drink and then scuttle off home or somewhere else. But I think...
Just touching on that graffiti, I wonder if we had graffiti in Christchurch much prior to that, and did that kick off what we see today? Because when we're walking around Christchurch, there's heaps of artwork and murals on the wall, and I wonder if the graffiti that those guys did help kick off that a bit. So mention in the comments, guys, if you know anything about that. But
it may have. A mate of mine, Tucker, will know, because he was basically the main paint seller to graffiti artists at Embassy, which was a skate store for years. Tucker, fill us in.
Timmy, Mr. Big Stuff DJ, because he was the bouncer on the door here, and he said that on like Mondays they had like a gothic night, Tuesday was a reggae night, and a Wednesday was a hip hop night. And he said you go to the hip hop night on Wednesday, but all the goths were still there because the same crowd would go to each night. That's how popular it was.
Yeah, well, because the scene essentially was quite small, but everyone supported each other, and so the music overlapped hugely, and it wasn't really to about 1993 when these divisions in the genre started to become quite more entrenched and deeper. Like when you think like 93, you've got the beginning of G-Funk, West Coast hip hop, the BPMs are just like plummeting. They're getting out of the
hundreds.
Yeah, they're getting out of the hundreds, or even the 120s when you think about like Young MC, which could be then easily assimilated like into house music. So yeah, about that time, and people, you've had hip hop around long enough, and you've had house music around long enough for people to go, this is what I want more of. And you did start to notice those divisions occurring. But prior to that, man,
it was all love.
It was all on. Another friend of ours, James, he used to put on an industrial night up there, playing like Nine Inch Nails, Ministry, Skinny Puppy. There was a huge disco night that Martin J would put on called The Hustle. That was usually the biggest night, but man, and it just wasn't your go-to disco classics. There was other stuff in there like D-Train, which you know, like in the early 90s, you wouldn't hear that stuff necessarily like in a bar that would play disco music.
Yes, right. This was kind of a melting pot of music and people. And I've got, the people thing has to be highly stressed, that this was a melting pot of us weird white kids, you know, from RDU, which is the student station, and everything associated with that, with the Pacific and Polynesian community, and also there was a big gay element here as well, dissatisfied with hearing the cliche music that was played in the gay bars, and they were coming here because there was house music, which its roots are in gay music as well, and they got it. And then you had hairdressers and you know, the Cashel Street fashion crowd, and it was an amazing melting pot. It closed because the occupancy and the hotel was becoming greater, and they just couldn't not afford to use those two floors that were generally like they could use it for other things.
And we had an amazing final night where we played Loaded by Primal Screen as the final track, and and so Tucko was a great friend of mine and an MC rapper. He rapped over it till the end, and the track finished, and he continued rapping, and no one would leave. And Fish was pleading for us because he was getting quite grumpy, and Fish knew what the score was, and in the end he was like, oh, come on, Grego, you got to get him out, And it was just like, it was turning into like a massive sit-in with the punters. The place was packed, just refusing to give it up.
Yeah, wow. And if you guys have been to this club back in the day, write in the comments your story. So previously to you getting into house music, you used to play the saxophone, right?
Terribly. I kind of decided I'd take it up in the like early to mid 80s for a bit. I had a huge infatuation with Miles Davis's Tutu album.
Oh, now he mixed some synths and stuff.
Yeah, and I bought a drum machine as well.
Was that something new for him, or did he?
Yeah, he'd sort of experimented with. But I think there's a famous quote where he said he'd rather have a drum machine than a drummer, because drummer's not going to turn up smacked out on heroin, and be a lot more reliable.
Yeah.
Right, so in here was Gloucester Street, and it's all gone. And in here, it's all wiped out. So in here we had the Palladium nightclub,
Yes.
which opened in, I think, 1985, and it was massive. It was huge. It was like all glitz and, you know, something you'd see like out of a Miami Vice clip.
Well, they had a similar club in Wellington that was like Miami Vice, and we did that in the last one. And it seems like a theme in New Zealand where in the 80s, well, this must have been before the share market crash, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, 85, so that was 87. And they had the biggest, or the only, full laser light show in the Southern Hemisphere.
Right.
And I only ever went in there, I only played there twice, I think.
Yeah. Back in the 80s, if you had lasers, that was the thing. Even in the 90s, lasers...
Apparently they used to... you know, like quite X-rated Garfields would like appear up on the walls, and but I only ever played there twice. Okay. I only walked in there twice. So I did DJ support for Belter Space one time. I think it was like on a Thursday or a Wednesday. An old mate Guy Alty, who was part of the RDU promotions, he put that gig on. But other than that, it was not the sort of place that appealed to me at all. The music wasn't quite my thing, and also they were still in that era of when they'd have a covers band playing and then the DJs would play.
Big Stuff was saying that Christchurch was amazing for live bands though.
Oh yeah, yeah, like just the quality of musicianship. Even going back to like into the 80s, like I'd often go to somewhere like the Gladstone or the Star and Garter before we'd go out clubbing, you know, like in the early 80s. Cover bands were a big thing, but of a very high quality.
Yeah. Now, why is that, guys?
and the other thing we had also right here, and I just want to bring an old school DJ into the conversation, was you had the Chancery, which is right next to the Palladium. A DJ called Dwight Caldwell, who needs absolutely massive big ups and respects, because he was one of the only people I can remember early in the piece who was beat mixing.
Oh, right.
And Dwight was like, I think he was one of the original DJs at the Palladium, and man, I think he still DJs.
Wow.
You know, and his father was a famous jazz musician, Doug, who sadly died a few years ago. But I just remember hearing Dwight playing and just being wowed.
Can we just hop on this thing?
I think we're going to hop on this at some point.
Yeah. How long have these been running for?
1995.
1995. Okay. This one's much older than this.
All the trams are at least 100 years old.
100 years old.
Oh, good. We can get off up here. I've got a story to tell. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
You ever travelled on one of these before, Greg?
It's the first time. I think we'll pay the money and come back. Thanks very much. This here, again, it's no longer, but this is the spot of what was Espresso 124, which was a great restaurant run by Richard Till, who's a highly decorated, respected New Zealand chef, and he had this little bar next door, just right in the corner here. It didn't hold probably more than about 80 people maybe, and the DJ booth was up in the ceiling to save space. Apparently DJ Pressure, he had been talking to Richard, and Richard had suggested him, DJ Pressure, Jeff Wright, had previously also DJ'd like in London, more like rock clubs and that, but he had DJ experience, quite a bit of it. So because he wanted more of just like a current electronic sound. Jeff takes it over and he's just playing a real mixture of like really good hip hop, not sort of chart stuff, a lot of trip hop like the Mowax, James Lavelle sort of sound, and then there's also early sort of that liquidy, faux-techy drum and bass sort of sound being played in here as well. He gets Roger Perry down, gets Manuel Bundy comes down to play, and suddenly the place is buzzing. Jeff and I got talking, I think one day or something, and he just invited me to come in and start playing, and I would come in every Saturday night, play, stuck up up in the heavens. Hi there. Hi.
How you going?
Very well, thank you. How can I help?
Good.
Oh, we're just having a look around.
It would have been, probably to there,
Yeah.
and then through here. So it's still actually a reasonable size.
Yeah.
There was definitely no seating. It was just like a bar up on the side, and then you had the restaurant spilled in over to the side. There was kind of like a couple of big sort of entrance areas.
Yeah, right.
For me, this was 1995,
Yeah.
and I kind of felt the writing was on the wall for me,
Yeah.
DJing wise. After the Worcester Bar ended in 93, then sort of hopped between a number of venues.
Yes.
This was good, but at the same time it was hard to capture like a club experience as much as we would play Higher State of Consciousness and other tracks that were really rowdy and everyone wanted to hear them. It still didn't, to me, feel quite right.
Right.
And it was very bright.
Yeah.
There was also a
Bright
pool,
as in like lighting?
a bit too bright lighting.
Yeah.
There was also a pool table in there,
Yeah.
but you'd get everyone dancing up on the pool table, which would bring them slightly closer to you as as an
It
audience.
sounds like a lot of fun at least.
Oh, it was. There were some great nights there. My very final night before I split for Auckland was like beginning of February 1996.
Yeah.
It was, and it was a great send off, a great last night.
Where was the DJ booth placed?
It was sort of right in this corner.
In the
over
corner. It's just quite close to the street.
Yeah. I think that the amazing thing about this place is, and it's just like so many of the great venues I've played in over the years, like whether it's like Andy Meek with Ink Bar, Simon and Tom at Box, Shae at Calibre, Fish at the Worcester Bar. The team behind here, Richard Till, Georgie and Timmy, they just encouraged what you wanted to play. There was no like second guessing. There was no problems with what you were free to express what you wanted to play, to read the crowd accordingly, and
That's when things work well. Often.
Yeah, they do.
It's about the talent of the DJ.
And the cheesy considerations were never ever
Pushed
an
on
issue.
you. Yeah, okay. Now, Timmy did mention that there was a great New Year's Eve party that they did here, apparently out in the car park, and they had proper sound system.
The car park was.
It might have been over here.
It'll be through here. Now that is, I'm remembering that.
Okay.
And was I part of that?
Memory.
So, and you'd also have Coyotes, which was like this massive. Coyotes was massive.
Was that after the movie? Coyote Ugly?
That was like really quite a crucial part of the R&B, early R&B scene. So out here, down here, there was a car park.
Okay.
And now it's all starting to come flooding back.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is New Year's Eve 1995 into 96. It's amazing what you can dredge up in the back of your memory, isn't it? So so the car park was twice this size.
Yes.
The car park easily went like another 30 metres that way.
Yeah. Now, if you went to a dance party here on New Year's Eve, guys, can you mention this? Because this was the car park, apparently, that went down. It was called NYPD. Some say it was 1993.
So the Worcester Bar's over by that point as well.
Ah, right.
So there's a few unemployed DJs out there.
That would have been a great dance party, because that was the time where it was trendy to do a rave not in a venue, like at a warehouse or a car park like this.
I remember doing a few outdoor gigs, like at the arts centre, like DJing. Oh God, we probably weren't even very good, but just the excitement. We would play anything that was offered, more or less, and the considerations on sound or lighting, they were just an afterthought as opposed to.
It was about the idea of getting a few people and going and making something new somewhere with less rules.
Okay, so this place Rockpool,
okay,
that we're heading to right now, used to be called The Edge, and this, I'm amazed, is still alive.
Right, it says a live venue.
Yeah, so
there's something else upstairs, is it?
So John McCarthy, who owned Warner's, he started The Edge, I think, this was originally The Edge in 1994. And Tony Peake, who's like one of the most influential people ever for me as a person and as a DJ. He was the manager running it, and he asked myself, Martin, Jay, Sue Jorgensen and King Al to be the resident DJs here. Right. And we gave it a great crack. It was an awesome period of in the history of house music. It was what I sort of consider other than the original era of 86 to 88, 93, 94 was an amazing period where New York house was at its peak, at its finest. Henry Street, Strictly Rhythm. You've also got Deep Dish releasing amazing tunes, Tribal Records. And this is what we played here. Yeah. The problem was the venue was just too big for us.
Oh, okay.
And we couldn't quite make it work. And John was amazing. Tony was just patient with us. He believed in us. But I think at the end we all just agreed that we had to cut our losses. Yeah. We had attempts of partitioning the venue off. And then I think they turned it into a live venue, and then you've got early Salmonella Dub coming in here to play, and just it became like the place for Christchurch bands. And Christchurch has had such a healthy supply of those over there. You might even had early Shapeshifter in here, for all I know. But you've got Tiki Tane involved. There's so much new music happening in Christchurch.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there used to be.
Hey, how you going?
Hi.
Yeah, we're doing a. We're doing a little historic tour of Christchurch. This used to be a nightclub.
The Edge.
Still is a nightclub.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. It's just So we're just. I'm amazed. There's so few that have lasted or still standing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I used to DJ here in about 1994. When it first opened, yeah.
That's about 10 years before I was born.
Yeah.
So it's obviously it's the same building, same.
Yeah, the
ceilings
bar was kind of
walls
here. There was there was a middle partition part that quite nicely sort of divided the room up, and so the dance floor was down there. So they kind of halved it immediately.
It is a big venue. This is a hard space to fill.
Yeah, it was a very hard. But we had some great times, and the house music at this era was as good as it's ever been. I think it's as good as it's ever going to get. And and there was a stage down the back here. Yeah, after we left, I think just the bands just started coming in, and it's done well to still be here and survive. Structurally, it's an outstanding performance.
Yeah, look at that. And it survived the earthquake.
Yeah, so about here, this is where the DJ booth was set up. It was great booth as well. Right. It's also where I learnt that not all mixers sound the same. I remember Al had this, I don't know what his mixer was that he'd bring in, and it definitely had a more lively sound than the Newmark that I would bring in. Yeah. Well, it's nice to walk through.
Yeah. What I'm finding out from doing this series here is that the venues that are built well from the beginning.
Yeah.
And they're often old venues. They actually survive the test of time because they've been thought about of how you walk in. There's a bar here. There's seating over here, and it's about the layout. And if it's got a sort of historical significance, then obviously people they want to keep them, and they can last 30, 40, 50 years. Sometimes,
The layout was good. We just weren't.
Yeah, it's huge, man. And there's nothing worse than an empty-looking dance floor,
Yeah.
You wouldn't know anything about that, though, would you?
Oh, I've had my fair share of them, Shae. I've had my fair share.
All right, so we're at the east side of town now, Greg, and there used to be a club over here that you remember. There's an old photo of it.
Yeah, this is the best photo I could find. It used to be called Romanov's. It started, I think, 1984, but this is the place I really first started DJing at on a Tuesday night with my mate Glenn, aka DJ Global Influence, and this is where everything changed for me, for Christchurch, because one of the most crucial people in Christchurch, the music industry, Soulmaster C, Chris.
I heard about this guy,
he popped along to one of our Tuesday nights, and these Tuesday nights were heaving. There was a sprung dance floor in there, and we stopped playing the Beastie Boys because we thought there's a disaster about to happen if people keep jumping up any more than they are. Anyway, Chris turned up. Glenn and we had no idea how to mix or anything. We were hopeless. We were playing great tunes, early Chicago house, early hip hop. But Chris turned up and he was like, "You've got to do it like this," and he proceeded to give us a lesson in beat mixing, and our jaws just dropped, probably further than they have in the history of mankind. And at that point, the game changed. We became obsessed with learning how to mix and doing it quickly. We had a great night to practice. We had a great audience, and this just catapulted the night to new heights and levels. The thing with Chris, he was essentially like an R&B hip hop DJ, quite old school. Not only could he beat mix to a phenomenal standard, I would stand on the dance floor listening to him going, when did he actually change the tracks? I couldn't pick the transition. Wow. He could beat juggle, he could scratch, he could rap. He had like this persona that oozed charisma, like that would just hold a dance floor on his sheer smile. He could dance, he could play bongos, he could do it all. He embodied everything with this infectiousness that I've never found anyone get close to him.
Wow. This venue obviously maybe it got destroyed in the earthquake or something.
I remember driving through here after 2011, and it was just a crumbled mess when I came down Manchester Street that day. I just remember Chris saying one day that all the American servicemen would come in. And he said you just had to be at the top of your game when playing. I don't think he did.
Just someone saying you that initial thing, it puts a benchmark for your own.
And the great thing when we started here in '89 is we had the American Air Force Base out at the airport had lots of servicemen. They were all coming into town. They used to come here on a Tuesday night, and there was a real big contingent of them from Washington DC. Right. And Washington DC was like one of the epicenters for like garage house music in 1989.
Wow!
And they knew the music, and so you got these, big American black guys. They're all dancing, and they were just spurring the crowd on. A couple of them would get up and DJ as well.
It's amazing that you'd never think that Christchurch back in the 80s was connected that closely to America, and the birthplace of house music.
Just the way everything just aligned and fell. I shudder to think if Chris hadn't turned up back in Christchurch, or he hadn't come up and said hi to us, my DJ career probably wouldn't have lasted too much longer. Really, it's the Worcester Bar opening definitely helped, but Chris showing us how to beat mix was such a pinnacle moment. But it wasn't even a case that, like, I hear a lot of people mix these days still, and it's just a blend in and out, and you can kind of hear the outgoing track. You can just hear it disappearing or still sitting under the mix or something. His standard was so high. As I said, I'm standing there and I can't even work out when he's flipped the track.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying the podcast, I've got some headphones from Rode that they've kindly given to us to give away. All you need to do is just write a comment about your experience at the nightclubs here in Christchurch. Best comment, something that you can bring to the table that's interesting, or about a night out, or something specific. I'll give you guys a brand new pair of Rode NTH 100 headphones. They're really good quality. They're worth like $300 to $400. Ooh. Premium feel to them, and they've got a nice flat sound, so you can even sort of mix with them as well.
This is one of the most important venues, possibly even globally, but definitely in Christchurch. I rate it in the top 4 venues ever. This is where Ministry was, and Ministry, according to Chemistry and Storm, of the great metalheads DJs, drum and bass DJs, they rate it in the top 3 clubs of the world, and it was maybe about 97, 98. Wow. And so
was it in this area here?
It was kind of right here. There was like there was a driveway alleyway up here, and across here maybe to Do Not Enter. It was huge. It was massive. It held, 1,000 people. It opened in November 1992. I was lucky enough to be one of the original residents. I played there on a Thursday night and a Saturday night. I'd play 6 to 8 hour sets each night I played. When they had the opening night, so Bruce Williamson and Wayne Clark, I think Wayne's name is.
Yep.
Wayne owns Family Bar in Auckland these days. So they opened it, and it was modelled, I think, on the Tunnel nightclub in Glasgow.
Okay, no, I went to the Tunnel in New York.
Yeah, and on opening night they had one of the Tunnel residents, a guy called Mal Barr, if my memory is still serving me.
Yes.
And he played what I regard as my top 2 greatest sets I've ever heard played.
Wow.
Like walking into that, what they did on the opening night, it was a Thursday night, they shut the whole block off. And there were just hundreds, there was 1,000 people wanting to get in.
Wow.
And they had searchlights, everything going. And you walked in, like this, up this big sort of ramp, and it's very much like you see photos of the entry to Paradise Garage in New York. It was like, it was quite long, but you'd walk in and the place was just vibrating, and it was very industrial, it was very metallic. There were so many different areas you could hang in and get different perspectives. The DJ booth was like lined out sort of landscape sort of wise, along this way, but you could get up behind, and it was at a decent level where you could have easy access to the DJ, and the DJ could clearly see the people in front, lighting tech next to you, but you could walk up behind the DJ and get the same perspective. You could just be pretty much just head height above them.
Wow.
Amazing venue, but again, something that it was too big for me to play in. What
do you mean?
Because the music that I wanted to play, it needed a bit more of a commercial consideration, and the other resident, Rick, was primed a lot better for me, as were other DJs that followed. So I think I only lasted there maybe 4 months. I had a couple of amazing nights. I remember Christmas Eve 1992, just absolutely incredible. The place was absolutely rammed. You've got 1,000 people in there.
Wow.
And I'm playing like early left field. I remember playing D Patton, who's the badman, and when that bass line dropped, the place just exploded. But I sort of found, like, after I came out of the summer lull and moved in, that it just wasn't working for me, and I ended up going back to the Worcester Bar.
Where did it get its name from? Like, has it got anything to do with Ministry of Sound?
Obviously it does, yeah.
Okay, was Ministry of Sound, when did that club start in the UK, right?
That had started in 89, because I was in the UK in 89, and I think I remember hearing about it, but I never went.
Yeah, and this was after that, obviously?
Yeah, this was a few years after.
Okay. So let's just call our club Ministry, and it sounds like we're part of the same thing, maybe?
I suppose it's like it's a name that's memorable. The name Ministry of Sound was on people's radar, who were into dance music. They were actually doing amazing. Those initial compilations Ministry of Sound did, like with Tony Humphries and Louis Vega, were phenomenal.
Really good. It came to a point where if you bought something that had Ministry of Sound on it, the chances are it's going to be good.
Yeah.
That's how much the reputation they set up.
Amazing club, but I don't know really what happened between 93, 94, 95, but by about 95, just before I left, I remember the likes of Matt O'Brien, Obi-Wan, James Meharry, Crichton, Rory, all that crew. They were starting to put on gigs back in Ministry, and then by the time I left, and then drum and bass, so you had the early rumblings of jungle happening, and they'd bring in their own sound systems into here as well.
Oh, okay.
They like the 20,000 watts of sound in there.
Jesus Christ.
Like massive amounts of sound, and
drum and bass loved big sound systems.
And so by the end of 96, you got drum and bass absolutely starting to explode in New Zealand. And here in Christchurch, almost as like the global epicenter of it. And Ministry suddenly becomes the place that Ed Rush goes to, and not really my scene. I'm only going on vague memories. I just remember being in Auckland going, Ministry's going off, and that's where everyone's going. DJ Pressure, Jeff Wright, I was working with him at BPM Records, and so they were involved with bringing the DJs in, and then they'd bring them down to here to play, and they just couldn't wait to get to Ministry to play.
I wonder, the building was an old historic building like this, obviously? Or?
Yeah, very, very much. Council had reclaimed it for part of this, I think. Real shame. We'll never see anything like it. I remember this car park over here, and I dragged 3 or 4 crates of records out of my car over to here, and then I'd roll out of here at 6 o'clock on a Sunday morning it would be. Having played from like 10 p.m. generally. That was huge sets. There was a side entrance up here because Bruce, the owner, used to park his Audi up here, and then there was the club would have gone from here to where that bus is coming out. It was huge. There were 3 rooms.
Okay, so that road was part of it. Yeah, I see. I understand. What was your experience like going up to Auckland? What would you see and hear?
So I used to, maybe twice a year, I'd just head up to Auckland to go to the box. Went up for the DMCs, like 89, 90. It just became a regular part of taking a weekend off DJing here and going up.
What was the talent like up in Auckland?
It was just amazing. Like there's Roger Perry and Rob Salmon.
Yeah.
They were just hugely influential on taste.
Yeah.
And the way
did you
I
study
play.
those guys, or did you? Were they ahead of you at that point, or was there anything you learned off them, or?
It was a case of learning more. Like I just remember having this moment listening to Roger Perry one night. Yeah. And I was almost like scrambling to write all my thoughts down because something had clicked, and I don't even know if Roger was consciously mixing the way he was, but I suddenly worked out that working in 16-bar patterns, just how smooth you could create transitions. Okay. That's not to say you should always mix in 16 bars. Yes. But the way Roger was doing it, and I started like analysing all my records, and suddenly I had this blueprint, which I didn't really want to share with people. I almost felt like
a little secret code.
It was my little secret code, or people would look at me differently. I never beat counted my records, so I thought at least I didn't feel like I was cheating in that way. And then I read years and years later that this sort of phrasing, a lot of the New York DJs were doing it anyway. But it was just like a pivotal moment I had listening to Roger and going, that's it. That's how to mix. 2110 St. Asaph Street, it's still here. This is where we've come.
And what was this one called?
Okay, so 1984, you have a club called Menage. And I think Bruce Williamson had this place, and this was amazing. Huge, big wooden dance floor. I remember going here a couple of times. I did ask the DJ one night to play Blue Monday, and he wouldn't. And it used to go quite late as well. So when Zanzibar would close, we'd occasionally sneak up here. It was the first club I ever DJ'd in as well in 1985.
The building's still there, look at that.
Yeah, and at some point Menage became Limbo's, which I know a lot of people have great fond memories of sneaking into, probably when they're 15 or 16. And there was a really, really good DJ here, Andrew Green, who used to he didn't necessarily play what I liked. I wasn't never much of a fan of Italian disco. These days, I kind of am.
Yeah, right.
But I just remember coming up here, and man, he was tight. No. Apparently, they served great nachos here as well.
See what we can.
I got to say, the other thing about places like Menage and Limbo's is they broke the mould of clubs in Christchurch having the band DJ format. Yeah. These places were just DJs all night, which, to be honest, the band thing wasn't my thing at all. I just wanted to go out and, be pounded by dance music.
Yeah, right. At what point did you decide to ditch Christchurch and go up to Auckland and stay permanently up there? Did you get a job offer? Or
Yeah, I did. So Rob Salmon was leaving Box to go to New York,
Okay.
and I'd become pretty good friends with Simon, who owned
Simon Greg, yep.
Yeah, who owned the Box. We'd had many conversations on my trips up to Auckland and over the phone, and I was, pretty good friends with Rob as well. And Rob said to me on a visit, I remember he was over at my flat, and he said, "You should come up and take over when I leave."
How did you feel when he said that?
I just thought it was just like a dream, and he was joking. And then Simon called me and offered me the job, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm okay."
Really?
And it took me about 2 weeks to actually wake up and realise that the writing was kind of on the wall. And it's
a big move, though.
Seriously, what? Yeah, it was a big move.
Yeah. Your life is here.
As much as great other venues would come about in Christchurch, the number of DJs was increasing. Drum and bass was about to have this huge monopoly in the city.
Yeah.
And so within 2 weeks, quit my job, packed up, went to Auckland.
Wow.
Never looked back.
All right, we're on the south side of town, and we're looking for a firehouse. Now, this used to be an old fire station, right?
Yeah, and it was 293 Colombo Street. I don't know.
It's 289 and there's 303.
Yeah.
It's got to be somewhere in here. So this might have just been a completely big, new building built here, but the original building wasn't demolished. It actually,
It burnt down.
mind the pun, it was
Burnt down.
it burnt down. I hope no one was in it. But
The other tragic irony is the downstairs bar was called Matches. People have got a huge fondness for the place. So I think it's well with us
mentioning
it and visiting
Firehouse.
where it was. Was it over there? I've got a feeling it might have been on the
look,
corner.
it says Firehouse on the top of the shopping centre.
Here we go.
Look at that.
We
You
must
see that,
be.
guys? Being in Christchurch, you got a lot of great covers band. Now, one of the covers band that used to play here had the Rungers, Bo Runga, and not Bick Runga of Pearl. Okay.
Bo and Pearl, I think.
All right.
But Bo was also in Chocolate City, which was a covers band at Romanov's when I first started there.
Okay.
Amaya May was the band that was the resident band at the Firehouse.
Right. And now, I've heard really amazing things about them as a sort of rock cover band. If you guys have ever heard them play here at the Firehouse, write in the comments. I got this info from Mr. Big Stuff. He actually later on saw Bick Runga up at Core Celeb.
Right.
Playing like jazz. And he was like, oh wow.
It's one hell of a talented family.
Yeah, that's so shout out to you girls doing some amazing stuff from New Zealand music. But yeah, this is the birthplace. Well, would have been one of the stomping grounds for them, actively playing in front of a live audience, one of their first places. Oh, great. Well, okay, Firehouse, not here anymore, but...
Right. At least we found a sign to...
verify. Greg, what's one of your favourite gigs you've done? Or just it doesn't have to be the favourite, because that's quite a hard question. But just what's one of your highlighted gigs that you've done?
Oh, the 1000th gig I did at Ink a few months back. Seriously, I probably should have called it quits then and then. It was so good. It was that epic for me personally. Racking my brain going way back. The first couple of times I played like the big day outs to like these massive, 6,000-7,000 people in the boiler room there. And just seeing the sheer spontaneous almost combustion of enthusiasm and love and just to the music I was playing. I'll tell you one track that has never lost its legs, and is Blue Monday by New Order.
Oh, great.
It sounds like a cliche, but the problem was, and we were about to go and visit, was the only place in Christchurch where you would hear that played. I remember requesting it at another venue, and it was just way too out there, too progressive for them. That track, the way it was engineered, the way it was mixed, the way it was cut to vinyl, has held up to these days.
Do you think the guys, when they made that song, did they even realise what they were doing? I
don't think they had any idea, because then they did Confusion after that, which kind of does pale production-wise. I know Arthur Baker was the man behind that, but even the way that record was engineered doesn't hold up in any way. They got a thumping kick drum, and whoever came up with the idea to like absolutely slam that kick drum in the mix, that created the foundation, and that's held up. What are we, 30 years later? Yeah, insane.
Where are we now?
Okay, so we are going to move this way, and we are at ground zero for Christchurch.
What do you mean when you say ground zero?
This is where it all started and began for me and for what I regard as Christchurch nightlife. This is where Zanzibar was.
Zanzibar.
And so Zanzibar was... So Peter Ehrlich started a Zanzibar in Auckland. And he then approached John McCarthy, who owned bars in Christchurch, if he could set up a Zanzibar in Christchurch. John spoke to the man who had his finger in every pulse, in Christchurch, a man called Tony Peake, who was massively influential on me, so influential that I wanted to be a DJ, just watching and listening to him play. So Tony set up Zanzibar. There was none of this format of bands and DJs, even though bands would occasionally play there. He was just into music so ahead of everyone else, and there was no commercial top 40 radio compromise. This is where we all heard Sensoria by Cabaret Voltaire for the first time. We heard he was playing Killing Joke. He was playing early Madonna before Madonna was on anyone's radar. Wow. He was Cypher Semenya's like this amazing African disco track. It was full of the Christchurch cool crowd, but it had this massive attachment to RDU because Tony did the black music show on RDU for a while, and then myself and Glenn and Lindsay Davis and maybe Greg Bainbridge, there were a few of us took over when Tony created Zanzibar, which was kind of here.
Wow.
Because there was this car park outside which would extend to where it's all covered here as well. But I remember you could park outside and
different building,
walk
obviously.
in here,
this is a new building.
The sound system was amazing, the lighting was amazing. I remember standing outside here, hearing Chaka Khan, I Feel For You, and it was just starting up, Chaka Khan. We were just like, come on, get the people in, we want to get in there and dance. And we just went straight up to Tony and said, can you start it again? So Tony rewound it and started it again. He wasn't beat mixing, but he just had an ability to play this amazing music. It inspired me in such a way that I wanted to be a DJ, that when I had my 21st the following year, I DJ'd from start to finish my 21st. No one else was getting their hands on the music that I wanted to hear on this very special day for me. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Tony and the influence. And he also ran the university, the record department in the University of Canterbury. He probably had the best records in New Zealand. People like Simon Grigg will attest to this, because he found a loophole in the parallel import laws. And so he was able, because it was associated with the bookshop and associated with the university, that he could be bringing in these Jamaican 12s and all this like rare disco or music like months before it would actually get a release in New Zealand.
Wow.
And he was hugely charismatic and just so loving and agreeable, and they would have like these amazing theme nights as well. They'd deck it all out, and there was a massive mirror ball, and they had a Saturday Night Fever sort of like dance floor at one point.
Wow.
And it was a beautiful time for me, just being young 20s, discovering the clubbing that I wanted. I remember dancing to Grandmaster Flash. I remember he was playing early hip hop, and I would challenge Auckland and Wellington to this one.
Yeah.
He was playing hip hop in 1983, and I can remember it clearly.
Yeah. So if you guys know of any Auckland DJs that were playing hip hop pre-83, mention in the comments.
Let us know.
We'll get to the bottom of this.
It's not a competition. It's just going on the record.
This has been a fantastic day, Greg, coming out to Christchurch. I had been clubbing here, but it was in the 2000s. And it's an amazing city, and it had a vibrant nightlife back in the 80s and the 90s, especially with the cover bands as well. So we want to thank you for coming as our guest on Lost Nightclubs. I hope you guys have enjoyed today. There's been so much I've learned. Hopefully you can reminisce with Greg, giving us insight to all these amazing clubs that existed. None of them are still here.
No.
Nothing's still tested the time.
We couldn't get into Limbos and Menage, sadly.
Ah.
We'll bring a crowbar next time.
If you guys have been enjoying this, I really appreciate your support. Some of you guys have been buying the t-shirts. We've got a Lost Nightclubs t-shirt here. I'm going to send you one. You just name the color and the size and we'll get you there. But yeah, I really need your support, guys. So write a comment and send a like and even share the video. Any last comments there, Greg?
I could talk forever.
Oh, well, thanks guys for watching. We'll see you on the next one.